'86 it begins. You're in single A. '87, you get traded from your, in essence, hometown, beloved team, and they trade. How'd you find out you got traded?
I'm in Glens Falls, New York, having the worst season you can have. I'm 5-11, and not the start to a career I thought was going to be what I had envisioned, playing in my home ballpark with all my family. I had put a lot of pressure on myself to make it for everybody else. So at this point, I'm like, this is unbelievable, right? But then you realize, I just want my parents and friends to be able to see me play in the big leagues. So I'm struggling, and we're struggling as a team. So I get these notes in the dugout. Somebody just comes in and gives me 2 notes. Call my dad and call Detroit front office. So I'm like, I think there's something wrong. I got to call my dad immediately. So I go into the clubhouse and I call my dad. And he didn't beat around the bush. He just said, you just been traded to the Atlanta Braves. I said, not funny, what's up? He said, no, I just heard it on the news. You've been traded to the Atlanta Braves. I said,
because
Dad.
A local news station had called him back home and said, what do you think of your son being traded? Right,
and I said, Dad, I'm serious. I'll fly home and kick your butt right now. This is not funny. I'm struggling. He goes, no, and then I realized that other note. I said, Dad, I'm gonna have to call you back. And I called, and they let me know I'd been traded. I was numb for I was numb as the manager was numb, and the teammates that I had, had were numb. They couldn't believe it. Because technically I was their number 2 prospect, for whatever that means, and I'd been traded to the worst baseball team in America.
Let's talk about what your goals are now as you go into this Atlanta organization. Everything's new. What are you setting out for yourself?
So I have to redefine who I am as far as get my confidence back, because in Detroit, it just wasn't working, right? It was 5-11, and so I get from AAA, which I got beat up, which I knew I probably should have, wasn't ready, to going to Instructional League, and that's where I met all their prospects, and I met Leo Mazzoni and all the coaches. And I got to Atlanta. Leo Mazzoni said, kid, let me see you throw a natural pitch, just as natural as you can be. And I threw it, and he goes, that's perfect. And I went, what? Like, seriously.
Instead of everything else you were trying to do.
He just said, be athletic. I went back to an athletic delivery. He goes, now all we're going to do is upgrade your pitches. And it was like the weight had gotten lifted off me to all this mechanical stuff that was stuck in my head. And I could just realize my original goal back in Lansing, Michigan, throwing against a brick wall. I want to make it to the big leagues.